Hey, what's up everybody? Radx here, the one from 72, the ultra neutral, and today I'm going to be explaining about UFOs, the disc cylinder shaped UFOs, and the flying saucers and the gray aliens and how they manipulate and use these saucers. But there is a couple of things that I forgot to put in this video, and I just want to mention them now. One is that I talk a lot about the flying disc, the saucers, and how that they're shaped like a magnet. Well, there's also the other commonly known, UFO, or whatever they want to call them, UAPs, or whatever the hell they call them now. But there's also the other one, which is that cylinder shape. Well, you also see magnets that are cylinder shaped too. So I wanted to also point that out because I forgot to put that in there. And the last thing I wanted to say, and which I know I missed a bunch of stuff, but however, the last thing I wanted to bring up is the fact that the magnetic pole shift on this planet shifts a lot, and when it does, and when it shifts and it moves, sometimes that screws up the controls of what they're doing when they're flying their saucers here because it's so unstable. That must be most of the reasons why there is any type of UFO crash at all. The fact that we had those crashes like in Roswell, New Mexico, and whatnot, or even the fact that they even bounce out of stealth, right? Like when you see all of a sudden they see this UFO pop up out of nowhere, it may be because they're having a hard time readjusting to the magnetic shift in the earth, right? So while they're trying to adjust that so they can stabilize their ship, at that time is probably most likely when their cloaking device or whatever they use fades, and that's the reason why people spot them, because otherwise the only reason why they would be seen is if they want to be seen. But if it's because they don't want to be seen, and it just has to be probably from a malfunction from the ship, and that's probably because of the fact that the magnetic pole shifts are so unstable. Lastly, I want to point out the fact that there is an interview from a reptilian woman. That was a transcript that was written, I think, back in 1999, and now you can catch that interview on YouTube. It has over 1 million views, and in that interview, she specifically says that is the reason why the UFOs crashed in Roswell, was because there was a magnetic pole shift. However, I've known about how their ships work, right after my mind was unlocked from the Draconian back in 2017. So, and I didn't hear her interview until just recently. And with that, guys, enjoy the video. Okay, I'm gonna try to explain how the gray aliens disc UFOs work, and I'm gonna do it because of the fact that I actually had actual alien contact, not with the grays that I can remember, but more with the reptoids, obviously with the Draconians. So I'm gonna explain it the best way that I can, the best way I understand how these discs work. And not because I had to think it through. It's not because of thinking it through. It just was like boom. Like I knew right away. Years and years of seeing these discs, and I don't mean personally, because I've never seen them like personally, but seeing them on TV and hearing about people talking about these flying discs and the gray aliens and stuff. I never really thought any too much about it, right? Like I had really no thoughts into it. I just thought, wow, it's just crazy that there's these discs, never really thought how they worked, right? Well, the fact is that there is never any, chemtrails or contrails. There's no exhaust fumes. There's nothing to show that they're using any type of a fuel to make these discs fly, to make them just take off. And one of the things you hear often is that you don't hear anything, right? Like you hear nothing at all from these discs. Well, after my Draconian experience and after my mind was unlocked, it just clicked like that. Like I knew exactly how these things work. And how they work is the galaxy is actually full of magnetism, like everything is. That our planet is full of magnetism. They don't even understand really how magnetism works. And the entire galaxy is a giant magnet. It's just all magnetism. Like all these planets have magnetism in them. So if you look at magnets itself, right, and you take two magnets, like here's two. I had two disc ones that I was going to use, but I lost them. But if you take two magnets and you bring them together,
they will pull. Like, you get to a point, and you guys already all know this. I don't have to, this is something that you could do at home easily on your own. But if you just get them to right to the point, to right, and you just boom, and it goes there, right? So it just goes, right? The only sound that you're hearing is when these two magnets actually collide. That's the only sound that you hear. You don't hear anything from that propulsion, right? Like, it goes from there to there. Now, we know that they're using train systems, and I think over in China they're using train systems now that use this magnetic energy to make these trains go across the tracks. I haven't really done a lot of research on them, but my guess is there's probably no sound, right? Like, so when they see these UFOs, these flying discs that the Greys use, and they're just gone, you know, and they don't hear any sound, they don't see any type of fumes or any type of, you know, anything that shows you like what we use with modern, engines, then that tells you that there's a different source that's being used. And people want to say, they're constantly saying, well, they're using a type of a gravity type machine or something. I don't know if that's just so much as the case. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe gravity and magnetism are pretty much one and the same, because they don't really understand gravity either. Like, they're trying to understand it, but they really don't. But maybe gravity and magnetism are one and the same in a lot of ways. I don't know. That could be possible. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But if you take two magnets, right, and you flip one around the opposite way, and now you try to push them together, they're not going to go, right? They're not going to go together. And this is me trying really hard to push these two magnets together. It's something that you guys already know. I don't have to really go down all that path. So when the ships come, right, like when they're shooting across the galaxy, when these discs that they're using are going across the galaxy, and I'm not, also keep in mind, I'm not adding in the fact that yes, they have technology to phase in and out, right, to most likely go in between of different realms and things like that, as well as being invisible to your eye. Now, I don't mean that they're invisible to all beings' eyes, just invisible to the human's eye, right? Like, your eyesight is different than the eyesight of somebody who was born on Mars, somebody who was born on Saturn or Pluto. Your eyesight is completely different than their eyesight. Your light spectrum is different from what the cones in your eyes, and the spectrums of what you can see is completely different than if you're on a different planet, born on a different planet, because of the distance of the light of the sun or suns. Maybe there's 2 or 3 suns. There are some planets where there is no darkness, and then there's some planets where it's pretty much dark, right? Like, so the beings that evolve there, their spectrums and the cones in their eyes are going to see things differently. If you go to Mars, right, like we keep hearing about people just going to Mars and just like it's like no big deal. When people actually are on Mars, humans who are born here, earthlings on Earth, go to Mars, they're going to see things differently, right? When they get on that planet, things are going to be different because the light spectrum of the sun is not exactly the same as where it is from here from Earth. So when you don't see these ships, like when these ships phase in and out, it may not just be that they're phasing in and out of this realm and into another realm. It may just be possible they're adjusting whatever inside of that ship so that your eyes as a human cannot see these things. In other words, like the animals on this planet and on Earth, they see things differently than the way humans see things. Why is that? Why is it that their eyesight is different from a human's eyesight? Which also tells you, are humans actually from Earth? You know, when all these other animals that we see that evolved here, their eyesight is completely different. So let's get back to the fact of how this magnetism works and how it works for these flying saucers. We're going to take this, we're going to make this as Earth. Okay, so we're going to draw a big picture of Earth here. And then we're going to take another one here, and we're going to make another planet over here. We'll call this Neptune, this blue planet. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we'll say that this is Neptune, that's Earth, and we'll say that this purple one is Venus, okay? We'll say that this is Venus, or wait, you know what? Let's say this purple one is Saturn. Let's say that that's Saturn. And let's go way back here, way off in the distance, and let's say that this is Jupiter. This big sucker right here is Jupiter. Now, I don't know if you can hear me very well, but so if this ship wants you go from all the way from Jupiter, and it might not be correct how I have the planet set up, obviously. I'm just kind of winging it just to get the point across. But let's say you're coming from Jupiter and you want to come to Earth, and you're using a magnetic disc, right? This magnetic disc. And each one of these planets are like giant magnets. They all have magnetism that can be manipulated. There's a push-pull with the magnet, right? Like there's a push-pull. So if I want to go from Jupiter to Earth, I'm going to revert my magnetic energy from my disk. I'm going to revert it so it goes the opposite, to push off of Jupiter. And as I'm reverting the push away from Jupiter, I'm going to do, maybe I kind of put this kind of crazy there. I'm going to put a pull onto this planet over here, and I also have a pull going to this other planet. Like I have this magnetic energy that I can bounce between those to navigate, to zip across quickly to get over here. So now that push that's coming from Jupiter, that push, I'm going to attract the magnetism and go to the positive to pull towards what we call it, Neptune, to pull towards Neptune, right? So I'm using that push. Here comes my push. I'm pushing off of here. I'm going this way, but I want to go there. I'm using that pull that's pulling me this way, but as I straighten my line out because I want to get there, I'm now going to pull over here, which is going to give me this double pull here. And as I pull here like this, which is going to pull me forward and pushing me this way, now I'm going to rotate my magnetism, my magnetic energy. I'm going to flip it outwards, so that way I get a push. So the moment I push off of here, and as I'm going towards Earth, I'm going to push, I'm going to pull, I'm going to flip for a push, and then a pull going this way. You understand? It's real basic. It's real easy to understand. There's a push, a pull, a push, and a pull to get me towards Earth. And the moment I get closer to Earth, now I'm going to turn my magnetism back to slow it down. I'm going to manipulate it to slow it down so that once I get to Earth, boom, I'm right there. Now, that also explains the fact that you don't need fuel. Like, you won't need to go places to fuel up. Now, they may possibly need something in the water, because once they get here, it seems like almost all these craft immediately have to get to the water. Like, they don't just come to Earth and just come and just hover over top of just wherever like you see in the movies. It seems like usually when they get to Earth, they immediately want to go into the ocean, or like here in Ohio, into the Great Lakes. Wherever there's a big body of water, they need to get in there. And it may not just be because of cloaking reasons, but because of the designs of the ship and the way they're designed, that's something to do with the water and the resource in the water that does something to maybe replenish something to do with the magnetic energy. I don't know how it works. That's like magnets. Does magnets do anything? Does the water actually do anything to a magnet? Is it kind of like what's the difference between a magnet in just open space and how it moves versus a magnet underwater and how it moves? Is there a difference? I don't know. I haven't done a whole lot of research on that. Some of you may be able to know that, may know the answer to that. But is there a difference between the air and the water and using magnetic energy? Now, let me explain something to you about the gray aliens themselves. And I don't know as much as Jim Sparks does. I have had interactions with grays, just like most of you have had interaction with the gray aliens. You just don't remember it. Now, I know that I had interactions with Draconian because I have evidence of showing that, and things have happened to unlock my mind, so I understand things better and more clearly. However, with the gray aliens, I don't really have a whole lot of memories of interacting with them like, you know, the very few people who actually do. But what I can tell you is that what color is a magnet? A magnet is gray, right? They're gray. What color are these aliens? They're gray. Why is a magnet not blue, yellow, purple, pink? You know, maybe they are on other planets or something like that. I don't know. But why is it always this same color as the gray alien, right? So here's one of the things that you see a lot now, that the gray aliens are not just gray, but there's like, they're saying that a lot of them are pink actually. They have like a fleshy color. Well, so they obviously, if their skin is not actually that gray skin, then it is just a gray suit, right? Like they put the suit over top of them. With that suit, does the suit give them some type of magnetic energy, some type of magnetic manipulation, right? Also, you also got to understand the fact that these beings are not from Earth. They're from another planet. And on that planet, maybe inside the way that they evolved with a magnetic type of substance inside of their body. Like their body, like whereas here on Earth, you know, the Earthlings are what, 70-something% water, 80% water, right? Well, what if you're from another planet, and in that water and in our bodies we have all these different types of minerals. Well, what if on a different type of planet their body is made up of a lot less water and more of a magnetic energy, or like more of a magnetic mineral, right? So, and if their body is, I know it's going to sound hokey and kind of nerdy, or it doesn't make a lot of sense, but like when you see Magneto from the X-Men, right, and you see how he manipulates things, it's very possible that there are beings who can do that, and the gray aliens are something that can do that. And I don't mean that they can control the magnetic energies like Magneto, where they can actually make a whole entire bridge lift and kind of drop it somewhere else. I mean the fact that just basic, just small magnetic things where they can just pull those things to them very easily. Like if they needed to move like a couple of stones or something, and they actually have the magnetic energy in them, that they could just make it just come right to their hands. So if they were designed this way, or you know, even someone's designed, if they evolved this way, obviously they would understand magnetic energy a lot better than we would here, right? Like it's already a part of them. They would have evolved with understanding how to manipulate magnetic energy. We can do things here on this Earth, like that humans can do, that maybe other beings can't do on other planets. Okay, so basically the easiest way to explain this to you: hold a piece of paper in your hand, right? And just put the paper here in your hand. Now, to an animal may not understand this. If you do this in front of a dog or a cat or something, they may kind of freak out, be like, how did you do that? Think that you're magic, that you have magical powers. But if you put a piece of paper or a feather in your hand and you just simply blow at it, right? You just blow, like not a hard, big huff, but just a slight blow. Now this paper is moving on your hand. You guys already know this is basic. This is like something that we don't have, like we're like, yeah, whatever, I blew on it, no big deal, right? Well, to other beings, maybe on other planets or something that's not as much evolved, that doesn't understand what the hell you're doing, they just see that this paper, you're holding this paper in your hand, now it's blown away. To you, that's basic. You got it. You understand it. But you need to separate yourself from yourself. Separate yourself from being human and try to understand from another perspective. It's the same thing with a gray alien manipulating magnetic energy. Being able to make that piece of paper move because you're using the oxygen inside of your lungs to blow and make it move. Well, they may be able to do the same thing with just their hands, that they can just, or whatever, their mind. Obviously, telepathy is throughout the entire galaxy, and humans also have telepathy. It's just been shut off and blocked so that you can't use it. Now, telepathy also can actually give you a type of telekinesis, which means you'll be able to move things with your mind. And how you do that, there's a whole another subject on that. Removing your conscious from your body and being able to move something. It's as simple as blowing that piece of paper. Now, so how do the gray aliens actually make their disc move? Well, I've never been inside of a disc that I can remember. I've never actually been inside of a disc that I can remember. But here's what I can tell you. It's a good possibility that when you go inside of a disc, that there is no captain's chair where you sit down. Maybe they do have chairs, I don't know. I don't really think that they really have this type of controls like what you see in a modern vehicle today, right? Like when we get in vehicles today, there's always a gas, there's a brake, you know, there's emergency brakes, there's a steering wheel, and there's all these things for all these controls for our arms and legs and all this to move, right? Well, let's say that you could control your vehicle the way that you blew that piece of paper on your hand, right? Like you could just control it with your voice, right? Like your voice, which is coming, that's actually happening now, right? But let's say that you can control it with your voice and you get inside the vehicle and there's absolutely no physical controls that you actually need to use your limbs, like the start, you know, the stopping, and to steer it, right? So let's say that the gray aliens, and I don't want to say let's say because I'm pretty sure this is pretty much how it works. When they go inside the disk, they've already have it constructed to where they don't need control. So this also makes it harder for other beings from other galaxies or also on our planet to steal their ships, right? To just get on board like you see in like the Avengers or other movies and stuff like that, where you just jump on some alien craft and oh, it's just like any other spaceship. You know, it's just like on Earth where we got a steering wheel and all this and these controls. That's just not really the case in the galaxy with all these other spaceships. They don't work like that, man. That's primitive. The way we have machines here are very primitive. They're only like, I don't know, what's the automobile, like 100 years old or something? That's nothing. You're talking about beings like the Draconians who, what I hear, are 2 billion years more advanced than the human race. They've been doing space travel for over 2 billion years. And the gray aliens, who knows how long they've been doing space travel. So their ships have been more redefined and more and a lot more advanced than what you would pretty much comprehend, that you can just jump in and just take off with the ship and just fly wherever, okay? So if these beings, the gray aliens, can actually manipulate, they can manipulate these magnetic energies, and they would design their ships this way so that when they get in the ship automatically is connected to them, right? Like they are part of that ship. They are a part of this thing. Like they're a part of it. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's not like there's a separation between the gray and the ship. Once the gray gets onto the ship, it's part of them, man. And whoever's controlling it, and maybe they're all controlling it. Maybe it works where, because if they're all telepathy, they all use telepathy, they all know where they're going. So if something happens to one of the grays, the rest of the grays got it, right? Like if 4 or 5 of them fall out, there's another, other ones there who got it and they understand where to go and what to do. And so they could just fly a ship. They're all part of that ship. That is part of them. So when they get on the ship and they get inside this thing, I'm going to draw one real quick. We'll use this big green thing here, okay? So when the grays get inside of this ship, the same thing, the same principle applies when they get inside of the disk, right? It's circular. Like if you have a magnet, right? The circular magnet. This way it has that magnetic energy going all the way around it. So you can get that push-pull. So if we want to leave from that planet there, all we have to think is push, pull, and push-pull, pulling us across. So the entire ship, there's no forward, there's no arrow, right? There's no front haul, there's no rear. So it doesn't matter where we are. So if I'm going this way to here, all I gotta do is go this way. Now we're going this way. All I gotta do is think to go that way. We're going that way. There's no forward, backwards. It's a circle, man. It's a circle. Everything is a circle. So anyhow, I hope that makes a little bit more sense to you. I hope that you understand the fact that gray aliens, the fact that their skin. Oh, one more thing I wanted to point out. Now, it's possible that they could teach a human how to fly a disc. And how would they teach them how to fly a disc? Well, first, they would probably have to teach them how to use their telepathy. Secondly, they'd probably design this human a suit, a gray alien suit. Now, the ones that have the pink flesh, that they say are pink flesh, and they put the suits on, they may design suits for humans to wear the suit, and then teach them through telepathy how to actually, now we got this going on, and teach them how to actually use the magnetic energy in the suit. They may design the suit for the human so that the human can actually fly that disc, so that they could do the same thing. They could fly it, right? Like if they just understand how to manipulate, maybe they put a mask on them or a helmet on them, where the helmet actually helps them manipulate the using their telepathy, and helping them to manipulate the magnetic energy inside of that disc. Which also tells you another thing too. It may very well be possible that if you're if you have strong telepathy and you have magnetic energies that you can manipulate, you may be able to shut people's consciousness off like that. You may be able to shut a human's consciousness off just like that. So we got to really look deeper into the magnetic energy. The fact that their suits and these gray aliens look exactly like a gray magnet, and the fact that their disc, their machines are gray. It's all the same color. It's all that magnetic color. And that's why you don't hear them coming and you don't hear them going. And that's why when they go and they completely, and they just take off like an instant. It's the same thing as when you flip two magnets the opposite way. Boom, they just, like if you take two massive magnets and now you flip them over, wham, they're just gonna shoot apart, and there's no sound. They're just gone. And magnetic energy is pretty much what the Greys have. I think that is their main resource. I think that is their main manipulation, is magnetic energy. And with that, enjoy the rest of the time that you guys have left.